Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. So welcome, everyone. I'm so excited because debut author Catharina Steel is joining us. She has got a middle grade fantasy book out, and I love this because we are celebrating National Family Month here on Big Blend Radio, which means sometimes a book and a family go together. I'm just saying. Her new series has just started with the book Vanishings, and it's called the Wythic Wood Mysteries. Not mythic, but Wythic. So welcome, Catharina. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me on.
I love that your name Catharina, and I want to say Katarina. Just from living in South Africa, and there's a folk song that has Katarina in there, and it has to do with dogs and cats too. I know you like dogs, but I've had to stop myself already 3 times to not say Katarina. But anyway.
Both are accurate. So Catharina is the more English pronunciation. But Katarina, my heritage is Dutch, which is, probably where the South African name also has come from. So that pronunciation is actually correct as well.
Well, it's Wilhelmina Katarina. Be explicit. Yeah, that's exactly the name in the song, Wilhelmina Katarina, which would be Dutch.
Oh, yes.
Did you know you're going to come on a podcast to talk about your name?
No. But, it's a cool name.
It is. I think it is. We don't hear it in the States that often. So I'm glad to hear it. But I'm excited about the Wythic Wood Mysteries. So do you have like a planned number of mysteries, or are you just going, I'm going in to the woods?
No, I actually have a plan. I have 4 books that in total in the series, most of which is written. So yeah, because it's been a journey. I started writing about 7 years ago. And Vanishings is the first book that I ever wrote.
This is exciting.
I don't think many authors say that their first book, gets published at this level. It's been through many edits. It's been through a complete rewrite and some more edits. But I've learned so much over the journey. But whilst I've been working on edits, and some other stories as well, I actually wrote the full series. I have mostly edited the book 2 to sort of adjust it for the changes in book 1, but to also, because I've now learned so much more, I know much better what I'm doing. So I've been working on that. So there's 4 books. So book 2, my working title is Were Dog Curse.
Okay, so let's talk about the Wythic Woods. Tell us about that, because it could have been the Mythic Woods, but you've got the Wythic Woods. Tell us about the woods.
So the Wythic Woods is an ancient name that the elves gave to this forest, and they combined 2 words, so mythic and wood. So that I've taken the W from wood and the rest of the mythic word to come up with Wythic, and I kind of liked it because it fit with the Witch of Wythic Wood. So you got that bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah. But it also feels like a community. It sounds like a town.
Yeah, it is. It's this witch has taken over this forest, and the mythical creatures who were living there before have, they've mostly escaped. Some didn't make it, but the ones who escaped, some of them went to live on Oprah's property, which is called Clayton Forest. And so they've got, there's the fairy village, fairy tree village or city there with all the fairy lights up in the trees. And you've got the gnome red cap mushroom village on the property. So there's lots of little sort of creatures that have live on Oprah's property, which is right next door to Wythic Wood. But Wythic Wood itself has become quite dangerous because the witch controls that area now, and the witches in my story have the ability to telepathically speak with animals. So she, tells the bears there that she's cursed the were-dogs, so they're forced to do her bidding. They've got ravens there, and she has a pet raven. So they also, fly around to pick up on what's happening and bring that news back to her.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's quite a dangerous place to venture into because the witch has her eyes and all over the place, and she's also got creatures who, will come after them.
But we like the creatures. Okay. So
the creatures, it's not their fault, right? They're doing what they've been told to do.
Our family history goes back to witches that were burned at the stake for talking to animals in the 1400s and the 1300s and the Isle
Wow.
of Man. So I had to bring you on the show just because of that, because apparently it kind of ties in, and that was a big deal. But it's really just, don't we talk to our animals? Don't you talk to the bird in this tree outside your window if she's there every morning? You
You can
know,
tell
we
what mood
forget
they're in.
that.
You can
You know,
tell what mood an animal is in.
yeah.
You know, if it's happy, sad, is not comfortable, or is afraid. You know what's going on. I can't telepathically speak with them, but I got a pretty good idea. Marshy, my greyhound, she'll come up to me and she'll stare at me, and I know she wants food.
It's time for her treat, and you missed out. You
Oh,
were late.
yeah,
They will
yeah.
always let you, and they do know the time, which is always interesting. But though I love that you're going into the woods and the illustrations. This is part of it. It's middle grade, so you're crossing a fine line, right? About reading capacity and interest. So did you think about that when you were writing it? Like, what age group is going to get into this? Because to me, who doesn't want to read this kind of fantasy fun? Period.
Look, I loved these sorts of books when I was younger. Still enjoy them now. Had so much fun writing it, and making and really pulling out different elements of the story. I did have to learn a bit how far you can take certain things to know what my sort of boundaries were to my playing field. This is my playing field, my limitations. So that was an interesting thing, but I enjoy having those boundaries there, because that provides like a challenge to me, and I have to be very creative in how I approach the story and how I really help to describe and set the scene, so that when the reader is immersed in the story, they can really picture the environment and get a sense of what's going on. And there's that mystery element there as they sort of figure things out and find out more and more, and until they are able to rescue Michael, and they also end up rescuing Clayton as well. But I didn't set out to necessarily write a middle grade story at the start. I just had this story come to me, and so I read but I had to go make a lot of changes so that it fit within acceptable, I suppose, limitation.
Yeah, because you just saw the story. Where did it start for you? Like, where was I was going to say the spore, because you got mushrooms behind you.
Well, it did start with the creatures' homes on Oprah's property. I vividly could picture the mushroom house that you see behind me, which is Wilbur the kitten home. I could see more the goblin's fort. I saw Jenny the fairy's tree house.
So you saw visually what you wanted.
Very visually, I could see these houses, and then it just sort of built from there. And then this story just started to come to me, and so I just started to write. I really didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing, though.
Did you? Okay, so this isn't like I want to be a writer one day. This stuff just started happening, and you didn't stop yourself.
Well, yes and no. I had always wanted to be a writer, but I was always discouraged from it. So I never considered that an option as a career when I was young.
Yeah. None of us make money if we do that,
Yeah. So
unless you're writing a jingle. Yeah.
So I became an accountant, and I did that for many years, and that was fine. Did I love it? Not so much. I was good at it. But it
shows this. I always talk about this, and we do so many podcasts on creativity and the arts. And I said, every single person in the world has to have some form of creativity to tap into. It's our source. It's a core part of our being, like our breath and everything. Creativity is part of it. And I say the most people, the people that really need it the most, are the bookkeepers and the accountants. I'm sorry, but we all want accountants and bookkeepers to have a very creative brain, things in the right places.
I think that when you're looking at accounting, I was always able to very easily see the flow of information.
Yeah.
And how to do things. And I always just innately understood stuff. Whereas some of the people I was working with, and these people reported through to me or were just within the finance team itself, and they needed some guidance with some stuff that I just kind of got straight off. So I think there's definitely a difference. I mean, I've always been a creative person. And, looking back, I think I should have really done maybe become an English teacher or something like that. But I have one of those brains, I suppose. I'm a very logical person, so I have the capacity to do accounting. But I'm also an extremely creative person. I've always had a very, very strong imagination. I've always loved telling stories. I've always loved drawing and creating things. So I think, and I did struggle with being an accountant.
Yeah.
Mostly because of how people responded to me.
Well, I would think just in an accountant, I'm accountable. That would stop me immediately at that. But, it's.
There's so many different career paths within accounting, and I was working for the last 10 years for organizations. I did,
Nice.
I was in the finance team, and I also liaised with the auditors when it was auditing times. And there's a lot of responsibility what I had, and when you're signing off on payments regularly, not thousands but millions of dollars, that's stressful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you need a creative outlet at that point. You need to go to Mushroom Land. You need to go, into
when I was working, I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I worked crazy hours, but when I was not able to work anymore, I started writing, and my love for story came flooded back to me. Soon after I started writing, I realized this is the path I was always meant to take. Clarity hit me, and
that's joyous. Did you feel joy? Clarity, joy kind of thing?
I felt peace, really deep peace. It's not going to be, I had a lot to learn, and I still got a lot to learn. I don't, does that ever end? I knew that it was going to be an exciting journey, not necessarily easy, but it was going to be fulfilling. And I knew that this was the way forward for me. Whatever it's going to look like, I don't know exactly, because it's just going to be what it's going to be. But I feel like I'm finally doing what I was meant to do all along.
That is an amazing feeling to get to and recognize it and then move forward on it and not just, oh yeah, we got this. I think that's a huge thing for people to get. That's awesome. It's awesome. I've never heard it even described that way, which is beautiful though. It's this, because I think so many times we get these moments and we decide to not even let it even become a moment. We actually take it off. We edit before it is allowed to breathe and become, yeast needs to breathe. And we as humans cut that stuff off immediately before it is allowed to even become something, or it's not even getting to flourishment mode yet, It's just that little spore.
I think acceptance, for me, that with the peace came acceptance, everything that had happened had carried me to this point, and I was a better person for it. I had much more compassion, understanding, and it gave me material that I could use to develop characters because of all my experience, I can write from a place of understanding. It doesn't mean I understand everything, because goodness, there's so much there, and there's so many different people, but I can write the characters that I write from a very believable way, because I've gained through my own experiences a deep understanding of this. And when you kind of just look back and look at things, it's kind of gives it meaning, whereas before it may have not had meaning. These things just kind of happened. So that gave it meaning for me, and this process has helped me to heal in a way that I wasn't able to before. And it's just been this eye-opening journey, peaceful journey, and just having that knowledge that this is what I'm meant to do now, and that, it's not an easy path to take this path. And so, I recognize that, and I just focus on putting one step in front of the other, learning what I need to learn, with that understanding, you don't know what you don't know. And so it's kind of like when something comes up, it's like, I hadn't thought about that. So then you go off and do research, or find a course that you can, a mini course that you can sort of just attend and get that information that you need, and then move forward. So it's figuring out, how I was going to achieve this author career. Like, what's that? How am I going to get to where I want to be? And yeah, it's just been this amazing journey that I've been on over the last few years. And it's not necessarily all been easy, but it's definitely been fulfilling.
Well, it's fun because you go down rabbit holes too on the research, and you start finding out things that you didn't even know you thought about, right? Or cared about. And it's like, oh, okay, well, now I know about this, which is fantastic. I wanted to ask you about Gobight, if I'm pronouncing this right. But give everyone just a very quick overview of the very first book, Vanishings. So they know, like, hey, you need to be, you get part one, start, going there. So if you give everyone just a very brief overview.
So Tilly has recently discovered that magic is real, and she's deeply concerned for her cousin and close friend Michael. He went to Opus Place the previous year and vanished from the Wythic Woods. And she doesn't believe anybody's searching for him. She's desperate to find him. She misses him terribly. So that's why she pushes her gran to let her stay with Opa, and her twin cousins, Jess and Zach, also are staying with Opa over the summer. And the trio, learn about magic, meet magical creatures, sort of get to know a bit more about magic. They learn from a creature witch how to make potions and how spells sort of work. They play a bit of a trick with Wilbur, the kid gnome, and learn a bit about planning for things a bit better. And Mort is a good goblin who lives on Opus property. And he's one of my favorite characters. He's highly skilled in all sorts of martial arts, but he focuses on Gobight, which is a goblin style of martial arts. And he teaches, because, goblins have these long nails on both the fingers and their feet, and they've got very strong, long arms. So they've got quite a bit of reach when they're in a hand-to-hand battle or fight. So, you have to do slight adjustments to certain stances and moves when you're going up against a goblin, or, a goblin against another goblin, etc.
I'm just kind of thinking down the road that this could actually end up being like a town sport kind of thing that happens. Like, this could happen. This could happen in it could become something.
One of those things that people do.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, kind of,
Look,
it'd have to be goblins.
I think learning martial arts is a good idea. Being able to defend yourselves, I think, particularly for women, being able to defend yourselves is important. But it's also exercise, and it's when you get together with
Are you defending Gobight right now for people to get out there and create this? Come on. I think it would be fun. Come on. If your town suddenly said, we're going to have a Gobight event tonight, come on. I mean, if people started Gobighting around the world, come on. Isn't that not funny?
I think it'd be pretty awesome.
It would be huge. And people have to come dressed as goblins and fight, because that means they'd laugh. That's my point. Like, this could become something, and we're going to go down to the pub, and tonight, no, so-and-so's not playing his banjo. He's going to Gobight, and we're going to have a Gobight demonstration. Come on, because they're dressed as goblins. People have to laugh.
I can see that. We'd just have so much fun. I mean, that's what those sorts of events are all about. It's about, immersing yourself into something else and just having a great time and letting those worries sort of fade away for a little while and having a laugh. And yeah, I think that's that. Look, if that happened, I'd be there.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I think it would be kind of fun. I think when there's book festivals, they should have a Gobight section.
Well, if I attend a book festival, I think I'm going to definitely have to look into getting a goblin costume, because there's definitely a lot of interest around the Gobight aspect to the story, and I didn't expect it, to be honest. When I
just run with the Gobights, yeah. I mean, it's like at a festival, I would want to be able to dress up and go and have a little Matt,
It'd be fun. Like I set up a little
aren't we
arena.
kind of tired of rugby and all of that and stuff? Oh, if I say that, I have so many friends who are going to yell at me right now. The World Cup is coming soon, isn't it? The Rugby World Cup?
I'm not a big follower of
I have no clue.
sport.
I just have
I,
friends
I'm,
that
I'm a,
I've,
they say you're either a sports or a music person.
yeah, but
I
I think,
yeah, I'm a
but
music guy.
Gobight sports could have music and goblins. What more
Oh,
do we
look,
want?
combining the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You've got to love that.
But that's how we watch sports. Somebody puts sports on the TV, we put on Beethoven, or you put on, whatever, Tchaikovsky, Nutcracker Suite. Works even better when you play it when they're playing, football or rugby or whatever you want to call it.
I
Soccer.
can see the Nutcracker playing. I can kind of hear
Can you
that.
see it? You can hear it and see it now?
Yeah, yeah.
So would you do that to the Gobites?
I think I would definitely I'd definitely look at setting up something like that because I think that people would just have so much fun, and that's reason itself, right?
I know I'm being silly about the Gobites, but I feel like the way the world is getting really tenuous. We cannot ignore that. But we do need to take a breath. And I know this is from Middle Ages, but Fantasyland is not always that far away. So do you feel like this is escapism for folks to get a breather, but at the same time also formulate a better world in a way?
It does many things. Like reading itself is a great way to just let your mind, I mean,
Meditation in a
is.
weird way.
So we're in a stressful environment these days, and kids, I'm so glad I grew up when I grew up because I can't imagine being in this world. Having that way to just step off that stressful gas pedal, so to speak, and go to this other place where your day-to-day stresses, troubles, whatever's going on, you can put that all aside and you escape into this other world. Now, but this other world also there's characters in this world who might be talking about stuff that you're dealing with, or you might have a friend who's dealing with that sort of stuff. So you kind of go, oh, that's interesting. But you're so immersed in it that you kind of almost subconsciously may take some of these things on. And then something within you kind of gets this sense of peace, like your brain's been able to come down a little bit more peaceful. You can see things in a better light. So you're better in your mind now able to make better decisions, which then you can go and speak to your parents if you need to speak to your parents. Say, look, this is going on. Whereas before, when you're too stressed, you might not be in a place where you can do that, or even realize that that's what.
Wait, are you talking to children or adults? Because I think we both need to hear this.
I think this is applicable to both. I mean, I'm talking about it from a kid's perspective.
Yeah.
Right, but I think for adults as well, like, I mean, yourself when you pick up a book, and I mean, I love reading fantasy. I mean, my favorite is that mixed fantasy mystery sort of genre. I love adventure. I'm a very adventurous person. I've done a lot of traveling when I could. And I just love exploring new places. But I love also, delving into things and finding out, what happened and what transpired. So, for me, it's very much, I love those mixes of a story. But there's often a lot of stuff that people put into the story about their own experiences and how they have overcome things or how they've dealt with something or managed it, which can be very helpful to a reader. And I think that's when you read a book that's particularly relevant for you at the moment you read it, that is a great book because you really connect to it. Whereas if you read it at a different time, it might just be a good book because you're in a different place. Doesn't mean you don't enjoy the story. It just means it's not going to hit quite as hard, But
I always talk about that with people because we take 10 years to catch on to something. Like he'll be on a podcast with us and some years ago, oh, that's interesting. And then they may hear it a year later and go, oh my gosh, I need to read this now. It's like, we take what we need when we need it as humans, quite frankly, in all spheres. And some of that's not positive. But on the other side of it is we know, oh, this is something that's going to resonate for me right now. And when that happens, that goes back to that little joy moment too, where something resonates and you feel, and I always say books are so personal that you don't have to tell anybody anything. That's your own personal experience. It's the one thing you have. That's personal.
I think everybody's going to take different things from a book. And one of the things I love about story is that I've written this from my own perspective, but every reader is going to take something different from it, and that's kind of beautiful, right?
It is.
But I also think that sometimes it takes us hearing, like I'm very stubborn, right? That has both positive and negative
Sure.
to it. But it can take me hearing something several times before I go,
Yeah, exactly.
like sometimes I get it now moment. Sometimes it's like I'm just being stubborn and I just am not wanting to do it, but I kind of really do need to do it. So it just takes me a little bit before I actually do it.
A little nudging.
I'm human.
Yeah.
But, and sometimes you might read a book and then several years later, you'll have that memory. It comes back to you. Something will happen and you'll recall the section from the book and it's quite clear in your mind and you're like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it just settled at that point.
Yeah, and movies do that for us too. Movies, music, the arts tell the truth, which is my greatest passion of life, is between the arts and nature. That's what tells the true history. That's what tells us the today. That tells the present. We don't survive and thrive without the arts, and it's our savior.
I think a lot of people don't value the arts enough. Like you look at the funding that governments give, and they didn't generally. That funding is weighed more to science and mathematics and going into business. Like you often push towards that business careers path. Whereas, and people like, they don't want to. Some people say, "Oh, books should be free," but then if you do that, there's not going to be anything because there's no incentive for somebody to
values. You have to have the value system.
Yes, people, if you want somebody to produce the stuff that you are going to consume and that you enjoy, be it going to the cinema or reading a book or going to a museum and enjoying a show of the artwork on display. I enjoy all of these things, and I find that somebody has put in hours and hours and hours into it. And then you have somebody that turns around and, I don't want to pay. It kind of, they're missing the point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I was a musician for many years and performing, and they'd go, "Oh, well, it's only this for a couple hours because it's only a couple hours." And I'm like, no, it's all the hours that got me to hit these 2 hours. That's what you're paying for. You're not paying for 2 hours. You want my guitar to,
you're a skilled musician. It's taken you years to train your fingers with a guitar to hit those chords.
Same thing as a book. It takes even the first, and I think it's wonderful that you're a debut author too, because that's exciting for all of us. A fresh voice, something new. And sometimes the first book and the first album is the best. It's more raw and real, right? And then everybody gets polished. You're like, oh, stop polishing it up already. Can we just get back to reality? Get back to the dirt, come on.
It makes me think of, how when CDs came in and they replaced the vinyl records and how precise the digital sound is versus
it was not cool.
I miss vinyl.
Oh, yes.
I want to go get a vinyl player. I have some records still, because I'm showing my age, but I still have some from my youth. And because there's something that you don't get in the emotion of it that is when it's too clean, a digital recorded sound.
It's so clear. It's this, it's that, it's high def. And I'm like, take your high def. Do you want to take the high def in the bathroom with me? No. You know what I mean? It's this, not everything needs to be crystal clear. It's like you shouldn't have to tell everybody how to read your book. Have an experience. It's about an experience. And that's when travel comes in too. It's about an experience, whether it's big, small, if it's transformational, if it's not. So everything is about experience. And we are, as society, growing into that a little bit better. As travelers, I know that because I do so much in the tourism work. We want authentic experiences. We're tired of doing the safe way, right? But we still want to go out on the limb, but please don't make us be that unsafe. We're still getting there. you know.
Right.
Yeah. But
There's
it's the
something
same with the
to
arts, you know.
there's something to be said for being safe,
Yeah.
but I think
Sure.
I'm one of those people who evaluates risk, and I will take a calculated risk,
Nice.
which means that I still get to experience life quite fully but I'm not doing it in a way that I'm necessarily putting myself at great risk. And I for me, that's kind of like that happy medium. You know, you're not running off and jumping into things, and because the Tilly in my story, she initially she has a tendency to leap in and doesn't think things through. There's no planning. I was very much that way, and I still am. But it's low risk stuff, so it's not going to have too big an impact. But when I'm older now, and one of my life lessons has been to stop and think. I don't say yes so soon to things. I now think, oh, hang on a minute, can I do that? What else have I got going on? What do I need to do to achieve something? And I do kind of sit back and figure things out a bit more and consider what's going on in my life or what I need to do. And so I think you can actually live bigger if you do that, because you're consciously working out how you can achieve certain things that, if you just jumped, you wouldn't be able to get there.
And you can actually do it and be conscious while you're doing it, not full of the other stuff.
You're like in that moment. You're consciously in that moment.
Oh my gosh, Eckhart Tolle would so love what we're talking about today. Oh, I don't want to do his voice. It wouldn't come out very well. But you know what I mean? He would. I mean, it's about being in the present. And that's what I think, I don't know if you say this in Australia. I was telling this to another lady. Catch a fat wake up is what we used to say in South Africa. Catch a fat wake up. It's like a wake up call. Like when you read a book or something just moved you, you're like, oh yeah, be present. Have some fun. The arts do it. I don't care what style it comes in. It's about waking you up to be alive and to stop thinking. And now that we're on this whole cell phone thing, so tell us about in the book, are people getting hard copies? This is all digital and all of that because you're in Australia, are they getting in the US? We should talk about that. But, people are so phone centric that we actually become these walking dead.
You're so focused on what's going on the phone that, one, you might want to check before you cross the street, look up, please.
And you have snakes in Australia. You better. We have snakes here too. Just messing.
Every country's got it, right?
Yeah, no, but you have to be aware. Like I'm used to being aware for that reason. So walking a street, I'm always aware. Yes, a car, and you could have a drunk driver, or hey, like today, I walked across the street and a hawk flew right above me, like that close.
Wow.
And I just rescued a baby bird, so my books are high today. Yeah, so that's why we have a Great Dane that's trying to get outside right now because the baby bird is in this little nest right outside this window. But that's consciousness. And that's where these little things happen. If we're stuck in this zone, we lost that connectivity. I was very connected with all this, and I think books and the arts and music bring us back with some tangibility. So do you have the tangible book, or is this digital? How are we going to get the tangibility? I feel like you need to have a candy line too, like a candy thing that goes with this. I don't know.
So I'm publishing with a US publisher. So it's actually in US English.
Okay.
And it's available in the United States. There are bookstores. If they don't have it on the shelf, you can order it through Simon & Schuster. So if you go into your local bookstore and they don't actually have it, they can actually order it for you.
There you go. Go to your local bookstore. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's a proud moment to be published with them, right?
I'm published with Spark Press, but Spark Press is with Simon & Schuster. So they're Simon is their distributor, which it means that you have traditional distribution. It also makes it more credible because Spark Press has to meet their standards to be able to distribute through them. So the book is at traditional standards, and that
is proud. That's a proud moment. And you got more coming, so you got a commitment. Yeah. It always makes you move forward. I love that you're doing the middle-aged book, and it's National Family Month, so this is a cool thing, and it's a good way for families to get together. Story time is epic lit. kids read. Maybe you read it. Maybe have a family discussion. Brothers and sisters can get involved, right? Everyone can get involved. That's the cool thing. Hey, you're allowed to do it. You're an author, and you did it, man. You did it. And so congratulations. So everyone, the links are in the episode notes for you to check out. So go check those out now. But you can also go to Catharina's website, and that is, and I had it right in front of me, and now it just disappeared. Give everyone your website. It did disappear on me. CatharinaSteel.com. I got it. Did I get it right?
There you go. Yes.
Okay, so CatharinaSteel.com. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been fun. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at BigBlendRadio.com.